I am Kamalashila. I lived during the 8th century in India, where I studied Madhyamaka Buddhism under Santarakshita at the Nalanda University. I was invited to Tibet by King Trisong Detsen to participate in a debate over the correct path to enlightenment. The debate was against a sect of Chan Buddhism, and it took place at the monastery at Samye. Chan monk Hashang claimed that enlightenment could be reached suddenly, in one lifetime, if one had correct action and thought, or lack of thought. I contended that enlightenment must be gradual, with extensive mental and moral training, and that it may take many lifetimes to reach. Knowledge and correct thought must go hand in hand with meditation to lead one through the path to the realization that all dharmas are essenceless. It is this path that is important, not the final goal. Hashang declared that intellectual analysis only scratches the surface and does not help one reach the ultimate truth, but it keeps a working ego with subject and object distinction, and that the ultimate reality is inconceivable in thought or deed. Therefore, intellectual analysis is not necessary. I responded saying that to negate wisdom was foolish, and that wisdom is necessary as a primary tool for realizing the ultimate reality, but that practicing the absence of memory and reflection is acceptable after this correct analysis is already achieved. I believe that meditation must be on the Noble Eightfold Path plus right freedom and knowledge as a way to end suffering using shamatha or calm abiding and vipassana analytical insight while practicing the 6 perfections. This will lead one through the 12 stages, perfecting wisdom and means along the way until the Buddha stage is reached, where one is omniscient and fully realized in the 6 perfections, thus entering enlightenment. Hashang contested by declaring that, from the ultimate point of view, dualities such as process and goal, striving and achievement, purification and attainment cannot exist. I mean for the process to be a means to reach the ultimate reality. Knowledge of all things must exist in order to obtain enlightenment, and this can only be done gradually, while Hashang does not bother with knowledge because he believes it is eliminated upon reaching enlightenment, leading to his belief that enlightenment can be reached suddenly and that time is transcended in the totality of the enlightenment experience. After 2 years, I won the debate when Hashang presented me with a garland. While in Tibet, the king asked me to write a book containing all the necessities for the use of meditation to reach enlightenment and the knowledge of the insubstantiality of all notions. Thus I wrote the Pavanakrama. In the Pavanakrama, I stated my argument about the emptiness of material objects and origination, thus the falseness of consciousness. Material objects are not real. There cannot be unity in material objects because they are made of atoms, but there can also not be multiplicity because the whole is composed of different atoms. Therefore, material objects cannot exist because there is no theory besides the theory of unity and multiplicity to explain existence. Immaterial objects such as the mind also cannot exist. The mind takes form of what is perceived, but what is perceived is reflected in different forms. According to the theory of unity, one cannot assume different forms. And if there is no unity, there cannot be multiplicity, because multiplicity is an agglomeration of units. Therefore, immaterial existence is false. If something perceived as a material thing is false, then consciousness is false, because consciousness exists only in perception. Theories of unity and multiplicity cannot be applied to consciousness. Origination is also false. There cannot be causeless origination, because it would be incidental, and there would be no diversity between being in existence and not being in existence. There also cannot be caused origination. There cannot be simultaneous eternal caused origination, because that would mean that God creates everything at the same time. But if he creates a second time, it would either be consistent with the first creation or inconsistent, which would mean that God forsake his previous nature and is not eternal. This means that there is not simultaneous eternal caused origination. There can also not be successive eternal caused origination. This implies that there is a universal cause that is dependent of God. God is eternal and cannot depend on anything or be assisted by others. This makes God unsubstantial and devoid of efficiency. Therefore, there cannot be successive eternal caused origination. Origination cannot not be eternal. If caused origination were not eternal, then there would exist temporal succession, where there is a past and a future, but these are not real, Therefore caused origination cannot be the product of not eternal temporal succession. Not eternal caused origination also cannot be produced by the present. If simultaneous, effect would be produced at the same time as the cause, and there had been no relation between cause and effect. If origination is not simultaneous, the origination could happen after an interval of time, then origination could also happen after the past, and there would be no connection between the two moments. If there is no interval of time, then the cause and effect could coincide. In each instance, all instances would be originated. If two instances only partially coincide, instances would have parts and would no longer be instances. Not eternal caused origination produced by the present is false. There can also be no self-origination, because nothing can be active on itself. To the knowledge that there is no origination and that material and immaterial things do not exist, one comes to the understanding that dharmas have no essence. This is prajna, wisdom, and is accompanied by upaya, means, as a way to begin the path to enlightenment. In the Pavanakrama, I do not dedicate a lot of time to my beliefs about karma, but I do believe that it is a cyclic cause of suffering, which is of a dependent nature, and that it thrives on the mental defilements caused by the moment-to-moment impermanence of all things. In order to reach enlightenment, one must remove oneself from this cycle by removing hatred and attachment. One must also have compassion and equal-mindedness towards all things, using shamatha to suppress defilements and prajna to remove the ripening karma. This can be done through the proper use of meditation with shamatha and vipassana, which will also lead one down the path of reaching nirvana. The result of reaching nirvana can be done by a step-by-step purification of defilements and observation of the non-self and essenceless dharmas. Once nirvana is reached, there is a release from ego vanity, birth, old age, disease, grief, pain, suffering, ill will, anger, and samsara. After writing the Pavanakrama, assassins, probably representatives of Hashang, killed me by squeezing my kidneys. Hashang may have gotten his revenge, but my beliefs of the gradual approach to enlightenment and Madhyamaka Buddhism have been followed in Tibet for centuries.